Good afternoon, guys, or good morning, depending when you're watching this. Quickly pause here and take a note of these measurements. I do repeat them throughout the video, but just in case, if you can't see them, you could catch them right there in the beginning. Now, the point of this project is to make a box of sorts that will hold your 3D projects. That way it's not scattered and all over the place. You're going to start with one of these large sheets of paper. And the very first thing you're going to do is get your ruler. A ruler is necessary for this one. So I hope by now that you guys have your rulers. And you're going to start marking it. The first measurement is going to be 8 inches from the edge of the paper. And in order to get a straight line, you want to mark it in several different areas throughout the paper. And then you make a line across those dots that you make. It's not always perfect, but it's good enough. And you're gonna see me do this throughout this whole video. And just this first time, I haven't sped it up. The other times it's gonna be a little bit faster just to save time. In total, this project took about between 30 to 40 minutes real time. This video is condensed to 9 minutes, so it doesn't take too long as you watch it. If you weren't able to pause it right there in the beginning, or if you're just doing this throughout, that first measurement, again, it's 8 inches. And you'll see me make clear indications for the measurements throughout the video, except for the flaps. But I'll tell you right now, the flaps are, or could all be, 1.5 inches. For the second measurement here, it's going to be 10.5 inches. These measurements are important because you want to make sure that your projects are able to fit. You're going to do that again, and it's another 8 inches. And this is one of the flaps, which can be 1.5 or 1.5 inches. See? Now, turn the paper to its side, and in the section that measured 10.5 inches, you're going to measure from the bottom of the page like that, up again to 8 inches again. This little section does have 2 flaps, so you're going to add those flaps. Remember, the flaps can be 1.5 inches. Now remember to continue from the top of the flap all the way to the edge, because those sections up there that are 8 inches, those are going to be sides of your box. So it is important to continue that line right there to the edge. I'll do the same thing here at the bottom or the top, depending on how you're looking at it. Now, make sure you don't cut out the wrong pieces. Notice the sections that I'm cutting out. Those small or thin sections that are flaps, you're gonna need them, so be mindful not to accidentally cut those out, okay? Once you're confident, go ahead and cut them out. Those flaps, they can't be completely the same length as the side of the box. So cut off the corners like that, so it's just more convenient later when it's time to glue. When you're folding over your edges, use your ruler to press down on the line so you can get as straight a fold as possible, okay? Just the same way you saw me do it right there. Now on your half sheet of paper, you're gonna do the same thing, starting with 10.5 inches and turn it sideways. And that sideways piece is going to be 8 inches. All right, you'll get a better look at that right now in a moment. There you go. So you see, you have the section that's 10.5, and then you have to its left, it's 8 inches from the bottom. And then you have your flap. This flap is a little bit bigger, but this flap could also be 1.5 inches. And that's on top of the section that's 10.5 inches. And you're gonna cut that out as well. And then using that same technique, you're gonna push the ruler there to the edge and you're gonna fold it. Make sure you cut off the corners of your flaps, so when you go to glue later, it's just more convenient and more efficient. Now, when it comes to uniting your two pieces, I like to put the smaller section underneath. Right now you'll see that it's over, but when I actually glue it, I glue it underneath. And when you see me glue, it's very important that you don't use too much glue. If you're gonna use the glue, make sure that it's a thin bead of glue, and that will dry relatively quickly and strong if you're using it for paper. I did that one off camera, so it didn't make sense to keep that in, but you'll see me do it right now for the flaps and other sections. And you'll see that it dries relatively quickly and relatively strong. And this is how your flaps are gonna work. I like to keep the flaps on the outside because I think that it's a little bit stronger. You may be able to get away with doing it on the inside, but if I were you, just do it on the outside. I tested this for strength and it worked pretty well. So you see only one thin strip of glue, one thin bead. You don't want a ton of glue because that takes forever to dry and it doesn't really dry very strong. Just pushing that flap out so when I fold it, it doesn't get in the way, though I do think I have to adjust it later anyways. If you do find that you use too much glue, just thin it out with your finger. Or depending on if you're in class and we're getting it from the big glue gallon, we might use a brush and just apply it thinly. Don't use a ton of glue, okay? And that is mostly it for the construction of your box. You'll see that it very conveniently fits the whole Yoshi in there. We've had issues of just pieces going everywhere. So I think that this box is an excellent first step in making sure that you keep your work organized and also establishing a basic understanding of a construction method with paper. It's a simple form and it's a good lesson to begin with. Here you'll see that it also fits the Koopa Troopa and the Mario. As a matter of fact, it fits these guys better than the Yoshi. The Yoshi is probably the biggest project, but you also need to understand you don't want to do any projects much bigger than this. At the same time, a project bigger than this, you might not be able to fit it somewhere conveniently in your home. And these projects, for the most part, are tabletop pieces or something you could keep on a shelf for a long time that you can admire or your visitors to your house can admire. That's it for this simple box project. You may or may not get to decorate this box. At the very least, if you're not decorating it, you should put your name on it so it's easily identifiable and you don't have any issues confusing your box for others. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in class.